Hey everyone, so Dream and Journey is coming up and I wanted just to pop on and give you some ideas of what we're going to be creating in Dream and Journey. And lots of you are asking about supplies. What kind of supplies am I going to need? So first of all, in Dream and Journey, we're going to get super clear on the direction that you want to take in your life. So if you don't know what you want to do in your life, then the first week is absolutely for you. We're going to get super clear. So we're going to be painting this arrow in our Dream and Journey course together. And then we're going to be creating mandalas. So lots of mandalas on paper. So we're going to be doing 2 mandalas. So first of all, we're going to be after we get our clarity done on with our arrow, we're going to be creating our own dream mandala, and that is where we take a mandala and we infuse. I have this one I'm just working on. We infuse our desires, our heart's desires, what it is that we want into our mandala. It's very powerful. The second mandala is the one I share with you on manifesting. So the Manifesting Mandala is all about the things that you need to do to stay in the vibe of creating your reality so it manifests for you quickly. So there are key things that you need to be aware of in your life and keep working on day to day, and that will help your dreams from your dream mandala come to you faster. The last thing we're going to be doing, or through the weeks, is creating some beautiful mandala paintings. And so there we go, there's another one. So I'm going to walk you through how to do that. Do not panic or worry if you cannot paint, because these steps are very guided. We're going to be painting together online, and I take you through the layers and get you comfortable with painting before we get to the final stage. So it's very step-by-step and guided, so don't panic. So here's what you're going to need. First of all, you're going to absolutely need a candle, because these are sacred paintings that we do. I also always use sage, so I have a little dish of sage, and we smudge our space before we paint. We set our intentions, and then we clear the space and make it a beautiful, sacred place for you to be creating. Then you are going to need some paper, like an art journal, perhaps with multimedia capacity. So you'll be able to use watercolor paints and markers in it. This is actually a really nice piece of watercolor paper. It's quite stiff and heavy, and that works really well. But I also have an art journal that I do play around in with watercolors and markers. So you're going to need something like that. I also use watercolor paints to create the background. So in the background, I always do a nice, beautiful wash of watercolor. Not always, but this one doesn't have it, but I've used watercolor markers on here over top. So those are some of the things that I use. Now you can improvise, absolutely improvise. You don't have to get exactly what I use, but I'm going to show you what I'm using as we go through the course, so that you can decide what you want to get. So I also have watercolor crystals, which are little crystals, like salt crystals of pigment, and you get your paper wet, sprinkle the crystals on, and they spread. They're very vibrant, and that's why this one is so bright, because I've used that. But you can use a watercolor palette. You can even use watered down acrylics, although they do get kind of a shine to them and are a little harder to write on top of, but we do it, absolutely. The next thing you're going to need is carbon paper, because I'm going to send you a stencil that you can actually use to copy onto yours, because you might look at this and go, oh, I can't draw that. You're more than welcome to try and draw it, but for those that just want to get into the creating of their dreams, I'm going to send you the stencil. I often have different stencils that I use to add a little bit of interest into the background. So you can see in the arrow here, I have some stencils that I used to kind of put some patterns in the background. So you might want to look at that, play around with it, maybe find a few online. You can easily find them online. This one I haven't even opened yet, but it's one that I did get online. Okay, now for paints, I'm going to show you my favorites, and then you decide what colors you want to use. There are no set colors, but we want to definitely get the primary colors. So your red, blue, and yellow, and then some black and white. So I often use Liquitex Basics and Heavy Body Liquitex. So either of those. This is Quinacridine Magenta. This one is Prism Violet, so I have purple too. My yellow, I always turn to Cad Yellow Medium. That's my favorite. It's nice and warm. I do have a Phthalo Blue here. I have Bright Aqua Green, and I also have Vivid Lime Green. So those are a couple of my favorites, but just go and find which ones speak to you and which colors are your colors. These are bright and colorful. You can mix them with whites to soften them down, but you might want more earthy tones, and so you might want to go and look at some Cad reds and oranges and that sort of thing. And I do often have an orange. I mix my Quinacridine Magenta and my Cad Yellow to get a nice orange, but sometimes I do have an orange that I just pour out on my canvas and add that into my colors. So that's an option for you. Brushes, I always have a 1-inch brush. These clear handled brushes, not expensive at all, and a 1/2 inch and then a 1/4 inch one. So you can look for that. And then I always have a nice fine tip brush too, with a really fine tip. Again, play around. Sometimes I use a round brush for writing on my canvases. So these are some of the paint brushes that I use. I don't spend a lot of money on my paint brushes, and I don't recommend that you do until you get used to painting, and then you might find a few of your favorites. I also have a squirt bottle for water, because I often will either spray my palette to keep it moist, or sometimes even spray on the canvas to let it drip and get a different texture. One of the things that I play around with are oftentimes liquid acrylics. So just these liquid acrylics. Now these particular ones are golden. They are fairly expensive, but they last a long time. And I have yellow medium, teal. Teal is one of my favorite colors, and magenta again, and then a white. And that's all I have for those at this time. You're also going to, of course, need canvas. So this arrow is a 12 by 24, just on a 1/2 inch canvas. This is a 20 by 20. So you can do these sizes, or you could even do, this is a 16 by 20. So it doesn't have to be square, and you know, those canvases, 16 by 20s, they sell at the dollar store for just a couple dollars. So those are my basic supplies. You might want, definitely you'll need a journal to be writing in, because we're going to be doing some deep questions to help you get to your heart's desires, to help you figure out, where do I want my life to go in the next year? What are my dreams? What are my passions? What direction do I need to go? So you're going to get lots of intuition pouring through, and so you're going to need a journal to be writing that out. On my mandalas here, at the very end, I did add in a little bit of gold leaf, optional, okay? Gold leaf papers, and they come in sheets, and they're very pretty for adding a little bit of sparkle at the end, but that's something you can add in later. Stuff to keep around are, you might want to look at, you know, some pretty papers that you can rip up and put on, or just different fabrics. It's a total creative process, so there's lots of different ideas that you can follow. I think that marks it, everything off my list. The only other thing I'm just checking is, if you decide you want to do your own creating of mandalas, and I may walk you through a few ideas. A compass, of course, is something that you're going to need, and a ruler, pencil, eraser, that sort of thing. But that's everything I think that I will use, and I'm just so excited to get started with you guys. We are going to be painting together, so there will be times where I say I'm going to be on our Facebook group live at this time, and I'm going to be painting the arrow or the next step, and that will be recorded for you on a web page, private web page just for you. So everything is always recorded and saved for you, and yeah, it's you have lifetime access for this afterwards. So come and join me. I'm so excited to get started. We are starting next week, and you can get your supplies as we go along. But if you're interested, if you have questions, let me know, and I will see you there. Bye.